Hey, what's up, Twitter? What's up? It's Enkrati from JustTrade.com. Now it's 11 exactly, so we're gonna start pretty soon. I'm just going a little bit over the what I want to do today. So when you're joining, just type something in the box in the chat box on the right, so I can just see how many people are joining exactly, just to give me an idea. Just go ahead and type something in the chat box, just so I get it and know how many people are here, and then we'll start pretty soon. I've been preparing a couple of charts to show you guys, so I feel like it's gonna be great. Cool. I see a couple of people. Nice. Okay, you're in. Cool. Hi, Matt. Hi, George. How are you doing, guys? Cool. Nice. Another one. Awesome. Okay. So I'm gonna start, and the way I was thinking about doing this is it's the first time I do a live review. So first thing I wanted to do is I wanted to help you guys with having some sort of strategy in place so you can start trading with it. So I don't want to just go over the market and do random stuff. I want to give you guys like a strategy you can use afterward. So I'm pretty sure you've been before on thisartoftrade.com, right? My blog. And so what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to get the checklist I have. It's like a checklist of a strategy you can use. So what you can do is you can go on thisartoftrade.com. So I'm just going to type it here, thisartoftrade.com/checklist. Hope you guys see my screen and I'm making a mistake here. So checklist. Just hit enter. You'll get to a specific page where you have this checklist you can get for free. So basically, the thing I want to do is I want to go over that checklist and then go over the market. And then we're going to look at how you can apply the checklist and how you can use it after. So we're going to do both today. So applying the checklist, which is here, you can get it. You just have to enter your email, and you can get it for free. And we'll go over that and then how to look at the market with that checklist. So just do that. thisartoftrade.com/checklist to get the free checklist. And then once you get the checklist, then we'll be fine to start. And what you guys can do is you can also just go on TradingView by yourself if you want to see it by yourself. But I'll have my screen open all the time here. Just try to remove all the noise on the screen. And what I'm doing is I'm often using the daily chart. So I think that's probably the easiest way to do it. And then we'll go over a couple of currency pairs together, basically. If you have any question, again, you can type something in the chat box, and I'm getting it by email. I have my emails open on the other computers, so at any time you can let me know that way. Nice. So if we go to the checklist, again, if you just join, I see a couple of people join right now. thisartoftrade.com/checklist, and you can get the checklist for free over there. So basically, the way I trade is using price action. So what I'm looking for basically is to have first a price action signal, and then I'm looking to trade only with the trend. So I'm looking with the trend, and then I look at whether my risk is correct. This is one of the way I trade, and it's one I pretty like to trade because it's really simple. Now all that stuff has to happen at the support or resistance level, because I believe those are the most significant thing in the market. So support and resistance, you know that the market move in phases, and you know that support and resistance are often reliable in Forex and in stock as well. So yeah. So basically the goal is to identify support and resistance, and then you wait for a confirmation to enter. You wait for confluence. That's how we call it. Once the price is at this level, we need to go through these criteria. So I'm gonna go quickly over them. I know them by heart, but I'm just gonna go quickly over them to make sure you guys know what I'm talking about. First thing is candle is bigger than the 5 years candle. So we're looking for big candles, basically. Then candle is in the opposite direction of the previous candle. So yeah, this is the engulfing pattern. So you have to have a candle, and it's probably easier to show it to you on the chart, but you need to have a candle that's bigger than the previous one. And that's covering the previous one completely. Then you have to have the wick, which is minimal. So the wick in the opposite direction. And then Yeah, so that's pretty much it. I'll show you this on the chart. Then second thing is you have to check the trend. So trend check. You always want to trade only in the direction of the trend. This is crucial. This is really gonna screw up everything if you don't do it correctly. So that's really important. Now, if you want to know what the trend is, you can use either the 20 period moving average. I use a 20 period EMA. You can do it only by watching the market, or you can use the ADX, which is the average directional index, which is an indicator showing you whether there's a trend or not in the market. So those are a couple of ways you can check the trend. Now you want to wait for a pullback if you're gonna trade the trend. You want to wait for a pullback in the opposite direction, and then you enter basically. Then lastly, you want to make sure that your risk is correct. So you want to make sure that you have at least 1 to 2 of reward to risk, of risk to reward, in fact. And then you want to check that there's no news in the market, that there's nothing that's gonna screw up your trade from the start. And yeah, so you want to make sure that you have enough reward, and if not, you can always enter differently. So this is a checklist. The way I enter, I'll show you in the chart, but the way I enter is always put the entry above the candle, the engulfing candle, and then stop loss at the opposite side. And yeah, so you have all this in the checklist basically. But the interesting part now is I'm gonna go over some chart, because that's what you came here for, I guess, and that's what's gonna be really helpful to you. So what I did is I didn't prepare anything, so I really want to go over the whole process of how I'm doing it. I don't want to just put something in a chart and you guys can just watch. So I really want to go step by step how I do it. So I've taken the Euro USD as an example to start with. Now what's happening is, what is this here? This is a sideways market. So we have two limits basically, those two limits, and you see that the price is moving in those limits. Now if you go in the weekly chart, it's even more clear that you have a sideways market. So sideways market, two things we can do in that market. We can either take a buy trade or a sell trade, because there's no trend. So we can either do long or short. It doesn't matter. Now, if we want to do short or long, well, we first we have to define what are the support and resistance areas. So support areas, I just draw it. It's pretty clear it's down here. And then the resistance, pretty clear it's up here. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 touches. So that's pretty reliable. Now what we want to do, we want to wait for the market to get to these zones, either around here or around here, before we take any trade. Now if the market gets to that zone, then we could look to take a short trade and selling the market here. Now if it goes here, we would have to wait to buy the market here. The way I would be waiting, like the thing I would wait for, is to have an engulfing candle or something significant at these zones to enter the market. That's one of the main ways I'm trading. So we'll just go back, because I want to show you what I would be looking for. Right here. Well, not exactly, but as you can see here, this is an engulfing pattern. So the candle is opposite to this one. It's a lot bigger than this one. It covers the full body, and there's no big wick, so that's perfect. The only thing is this one is not bigger than the previous one, basically. But it's an engulfing candle anyway, so we could enter the trade here, making a short trade. Now, the thing that's important to remember is on the checklist, I have a couple of criteria. You don't need to have all those criteria met to enter a trade. You can just have some of them met. And for example, for the candle I just showed you, this one here, we wouldn't have met the criteria that says it has to be bigger than the 5 or 7 previous candle, but it's still significant because it's still at the resistance zone, and it's still a big candle, and there's no wick. So I would have entered a trade here. What you see in the checklist is always things that are like in the ideal case, but it's not what you really have to see. It doesn't always have to be perfect. So this is an example. Now we'll just, so I've told you exactly what I'm looking for the euro. So it's either going here to the resistance zone or to the support zone, and then we could look for entering the trade. If price comes around that level here, I'm not gonna do anything. I'm just gonna wait because this is not significant. This is what we call an intermediary support or resistance or like congestion, but it's not something significant. It's not something that's gonna push the price higher, in my opinion. So I would not do anything if it goes to that level. So that's pretty much it. Now we can do long or short, as I said. Now let's take another example. I'm just going randomly, and I'm going to remove all the lines because I want to do it with you guys. Now this is the USD CAD. I'm on a daily chart. I'm just going to move on the weekly chart to see a little bit more what's happening. Now, what is this? It's like clearly a big uptrend, right? So we clearly have this big uptrend. It is not going to change pretty soon, in my opinion. Now, let's go on the daily chart. Daily chart, what do we see? Well, we've had a high right here. We have this congestion, which is pretty interesting. Now, what I was expecting this week was that we would have either a move back to that zone and then some sort of reversal. So around here. Now, what we see, we kind of broke that zone a little bit yesterday, but we're still close to it. So we still cannot say whether it's going to go up or down, whether it's going to respect that zone or not. Now, I was expecting price to reverse at that point, but in order to reverse, we would have to wait for a significant engulfing candle or something like that. Now, what we had here was, well, what we have right now is sort of an engulfing candle, but it's pretty much smaller than the previous candle here. This was a big pressure by the sellers, so it's pretty hard to tell whether it's going to go up based on that candle or not. So for now, I have no edge. Now, what if price doesn't comes back here? Well, we always have to look for the next zone at which we could enter the market, and the next zone I see on that chart would be this zone around here. This is another zone that was a support. Now you always know that support becomes so this was the resistance. You always know that resistance becomes support when it's crossed. So there was a breakout trade here. The resistance is crossed. Now it's a support. So if price doesn't come back up here, we would have to wait for a move down to that support, and then probably a move back up if we have enough evidence. Now, if that doesn't happen, well, we just go to the next zone, which is that zone here, or like roughly that zone. So then we would wait for a move to that zone and then looking to buy. Unless, of course, yeah, so I'm just confusing myself. So the reason why we're looking to buy is because we're in a big uptrend, right? So there's no need to look for selling unless we see that the trend start going downward. So we see that downtrend starting. So that's what I'll be looking for. Now let's take another pair. Well, this one is interesting because I took a couple of trades on that pair. So I'm not gonna go over that because I have a couple of videos. USD Singapore dollar. It's pretty interesting. Let's take another one. Australian dollar and New Zealand. Okay, so what do we have here? Now, as you can see, this chart is pretty messy. So what I'm doing with a messy chart like that is I go one time frame higher. So let's see what we have. This is some sort of a sideways market. Again, it's a congestion. We have one kind of low here, and then another one, I would say around here. Okay, so those are the two main areas we want to be looking for to take trades. Now, the reason I'm saying it's messy is because it's always been between those two limits in the past week. So it didn't go to the lower side and didn't go to the upper side. So what you want to be looking for is you want to be looking for either long or short because it's sideways. So we could either look to buy at that level here, roughly that level, because we've been like a little bit above sometimes. So between that level, we could be looking to buy if we have enough evidence, or we could be looking to sell at that level here if we have enough evidence, as I always say. Now, the evidence I'm talking about is in the checklist. So if you just join the webinar, you can go on desiretotrade.com/checklist, and you'll get to that page. You can just get the free checklist, and everything is there. So what I'm looking for to enter a trade, basically. Now, we want to be looking for enough evidence, as I said. So enough evidence means some sort of engulfing candle. I'm just looking to see if we had some here in the past, just to show you. Now we didn't have much. Okay, so we didn't have much engulfing candle here in the past, except if we count those between the zones. Yeah, okay. Let's see. This here was a good one, pretty much a good one. So you have a candlestick covering all the previous one, all the body of the previous one, even opening higher, which is even better. That's more like a duck clock cover. And then yeah, so this one was clearly bigger. The only thing is we have this candle, which is bigger than this one. We want to be looking for big candles that are bigger than the previous one usually, but we could still enter here based on the checklist. Now, were we in the direction of the trend? Yes, because at that point the trend is sideways. We know we're moving into those two directions, so we could be looking to sell here. The way we do it is we place an entry below the candlestick, a stop loss above the high, and then we look for, like, we want to have at least 2 to 1 of reward to risk. So we just look where the price is likely to go, and we could be looking to get out at that point because there's a structure at that point. There's a previous resistance, which could be a support here. So we'd be looking to get out of the trade before we hit that point, basically. So this is more than a 2 to 1 of reward to risk. Sorry about that. So we could be looking to exit the market and we could take that trade, basically. Now, this, of course, is harder to do in real time, right? It's pretty much harder to just look at something and then enter a trade in real time if you don't have what's coming after, basically. So I want to find a place maybe where I can show you a real trade that we could have taken. Now let's see this. Okay, this is another pair, by the way. I just switched. Okay, what do we have in this market? The main thing I see is an uptrend, right? It's pretty clear. And if you want to make sure, we even go in the weekly chart and we see it's pretty much an uptrend. Now, what do we look for in uptrends? We look for buy trade, of course. Now, where do we look for buy trade? We look for buying trade at support areas. Now, what do we have? We have this around here, which is a support. And I'll just put the resistance here. So the way we're looking at this is we're looking to buy around that zone. So if price comes back at that zone, we could be looking to buy if we have enough evidence, as I said. So that's pretty much what I'm looking for here. There's nothing much to see, I think. It's pretty clear. Let's take another pair because we won't go that far. New Zealand dollar. Okay. So we have a sideways market, right? It's pretty clear. We have this level here, and we have that higher level here. Yeah, it's not really clear. We have that resistance right here. So what are we looking to do? We're looking to buy or to sell because it's a sideways market. Now we could wait for price to go at that level. Then we could look for selling, to sell, to short, if we have enough evidence. Or alternatively, we could be looking to buy if price comes back at that zone. We could be looking to buy, same thing. Now, what do we do here? Because I see that we have a nice engulfing candle forming. Does that mean we take a short trade? I'm just curious about it. So I'm just gonna ask people in the webinar just to type in the chat box basically what you'll be if you're looking to sell after the candle close because it's an engulfing one. So just type in your answer. I'm curious to see. Would you be looking to sell the market at that point? Like today when the candle closed? And tell me why if you can. It's just a quick exercise. All right, Mark. So no, okay. Why? I'm curious about this. You're not looking to sell. Hmm. So the answer to the question is pretty obvious. And we're not looking to sell because we're between two zones. And so we want to be looking for good trades and high probability trade. And those trade only happen at the zones. And there's no zone at that point. So we don't want to be looking. Yeah, exactly, Luke. Good point. So it's not at the resistance zone, yeah, or the support zone. Yeah, exactly. So we don't want to be looking to sell here. We want to be looking to sell only at this at the extreme points, which are that point, the support, or the resistance. So we're looking to buy or sell. Exactly. Now I could go on and on with these different pairs, but are there any pairs you guys wanna see, want me to look at, and maybe you can tell me what you're looking for as well. So while I get your answers, I'm just gonna take another one. GBP USD. What is what phase are we in right now? Downtrend. So we want to be looking to sell all the time. Now, where do we want to be looking to sell? Well, this is an interesting one. So we want to be looking to sell. We want to be looking to sell at resistance zone. Now we kind of have a zone right here, which was a support. Now it's becoming a nice resistance. So we want to be looking to sell maybe at that point, and so it's funny because we're at that point right now. So what now we really have to look whether we have enough evidence to sell. And the first thing we're looking at is candlesticks. Now this is not significant, this candlestick. Now is this significant? Yes, but if we're looking to sell at that point when the candle closed, we have a problem because the previous candlestick is not in the opposite direction. So this is not an engulfing pattern. However, this seems to be some sort of indecision candle right here. So based on your strategy, you could be looking to sell at that point. Now the other thing we could do, the other advanced thing we could do, is we could go look on the lower time frame, like the 1 hour, to see if there's enough evidence for us to sell. Because we don't have to look only at one time frame. We can look at lower time frame if we're at those zones. Now, what I see at this point, and I'm gonna try to clear a little bit stuff. Remove. This is like an advanced technique to enter the market, but the zone was exactly here. Now, what do we have at that zone? Do we have some sort of engulfing candlestick? Yes, we have a nice one right here. This is significant. This is a lot bigger than this one, this one. I'm not sure if it's bigger than this candlestick, but we still have enough evidence, I think, to enter the market at that point. So we could be looking to sell at that point, placing a stop loss above, and then we look for the next structure, basically. We can do that probably on the daily chart. So where's the next structure? We could be looking to get the trade at least to around this level here, because this is the low. Now we have the entry around that point, stop loss here, which is a pretty much like a pretty good reward to risk, right? Or risk reward. It's pretty good. So this is a way of doing it. Now, what I teach my coaching client basically is to look for a place to take profit first, so like a place to close your profit. And the way we do this is we look on the lower time frame at the next structure, and the next structure is around here, right? So if we were to sell at that level, we would be looking to take part of the profit at least at that point, in my opinion. So it doesn't mean you have to do this. I'm just saying this is how I would do it. If I was to sell at that point, which I think I did, I would be looking to take part of the profit around that level because I want to avoid this level, this previous resistance, which would maybe be a support. So that's the way I would do it. And this makes it a lot easier to enter. Now, this is an advanced technique because you have to look at different time frames, so it's kind of more complicated. But if you look only on the daily chart, we don't have evidence yet to enter the market. So that's why I sometimes go on lower time frame. Now, any pair you guys want to look at? Any specific pairs you want me to look at? there's a couple of interesting one. What type of what type of trade is this? This is an uptrend. So we want to be looking to buy. Now, two things we could do. We could draw a line at that level and look to buy here because this is previous resistance, now a support. We could have been looking to buy here, or we can also look to buy with the trend line. So drawing the trend, the support with the trend line. That's possible as well. And it's funny because it happens at the same place, exactly the same place. Now, did we have evidence at that level? No, because we don't have an engulfing candle. We don't have a candle engulfing the previous one. We sort of have this, but the next one is not. It's not in the opposite direction. So those are two bullish ones. What I prefer to have is I prefer to have a bearish candle in the opposite direction. So bearish candle and then a bullish candle that's much bigger. Now I know I'm drawing pretty bad, but it doesn't matter. So that's the best scenario. The best scenario was something like this around here. We have this bearish candle and a bullish candle engulfing the previous one. Now we do have some sort of a big wick, but we could have even entered here. So bearish candle, bullish candle a lot bigger. And it's still pretty much at that same level. So we could have entered at that point. Now it's pretty easy to look at the chart and see, like, tell where we could have entered. Of course, it's more difficult when you do it live, and that's always what I teach in my coaching. But there are ways to look at it correctly. Now, if we were to enter here, since we don't have evidence on the daily chart, we could have looked at a lower time frame. So let's do the 1 hour. Now, do we have evidence on the 1 hour to enter? So that was at that point. Well, I see this engulfing candle, which is bigger than the previous ones. We could have entered after that, put a stop loss at the low here. That would have been possible. The other thing I might have done in that case is to identify, because this was a sideways, definitely. So we sort of have a stop in the trend. So what you could have done is you could have identified the high of the sideways market, the low of it, and then you're looking for a breakout. So that could have been either a breakdown or breakout, so break up. And what you would have been doing is you would have been buying once it break outside this level. So at that point, put your stop loss somewhere below, and then you could wait. You could basically put your take profit on the higher time frame, which is around probably the high here. So you would have a really, really good reward to risk because you entered on a 1 hour chart. If you want to be careful, you put a first take profit at some level to make sure you don't lose all your profit at some point. So you could put a take profit if you want at the previous zone, like some sort of zone. So that would have been here. So you can take it. You can put a first take profit here, which would have been hit. That gives you like a 1-to-1 reward to risk, and then you can have your second take profit more far. So at the other high around here, which is a good way to do it if you wanna look in profit. And I talked a lot about this this week earlier. I had a trade on the USD Singapore dollar, and I basically, like, the trade completely went into the direction, but I still made money because I had to take profit. I had one set closer to the previous resistance zone, and the second one was further. And this one didn't get hit, but the first one was hit. So even though the trade went in the opposite direction, I still made money on half of my position, which is cool, which is really, really cool. So it shows you that you don't necessarily have to be right to make money in Forex. You can just do it and put your take profit accordingly, and you'll still make money even though things don't go as planned. Now, I had a request to cover one pair. I'm just gonna go look at it. That's the pair I don't look at it often. Okay, Euro GPY. Okay, cool. So this is something I don't look at often necessarily. Euro JPY. So Euro and Japanese yen. I'll just clear everything because I see I have some things in my chart. Maybe I looked at it in the past, but okay. What do we have in that pair? We have, well, okay, so you could say two things here. Let's look at the weekly chart. We sort of have a downtrend, but we're still sideways, in my opinion, because we didn't move from this level and I would say this level. We didn't go further, basically, from a long time. So if we're in a sideways market, we want to be looking to buy or to sell. Either way, it doesn't matter. So the first thing we could have done was to wait for that zone and look to buy. Now price reached that zone pretty much earlier and it just went back up. We didn't have enough evidence, in my opinion, on the daily chart though to enter the market. Now next thing we want to be looking is to either sell at that level. That would be like the optimal thing. The other thing I did this week, however, was because we have such a downtrend on the market, we could be looking to sell on the trend line, which we have a nice trend line here. So that's something we could have done, and I've done this week on another pair. We could be looking to sell when the price reaches the trend line, like it did here, like it did here. Now to draw a trend line, we need to have at least 2 points. So we had 1, 2, now 3, 4. That's better. So we could have placed a sell trade at that level if we had evidence, which we had. Nice engulfing candle here, and a gap up that was filled. So that's perfect. We could have been selling here. So the next thing you can look for is either a retracement at that level somewhere in the future to the trend line, or you could be looking to buy if it goes to that zone again. Two things you can do. So like, of course, there's a lot of other pairs to cover, and there's a lot of stuff we could be looking for. But if you guys have any question, just type them in the chat box, and I'll be looking to answer them. As always, it's good if you can use the checklist. It's available for free, so you can always get the checklist and trade from it. But just type in your question if you have anything. All right. So if you guys don't have any question, I guess we can just leave it as is for this week. And if you have any question and they're typed later, I'll just get them by email. So I'll make sure to answer them personally during the week. And based on that, just get the checklist. Try to see if you can apply it on a demo account first, and then if you can apply it, then that's perfect. Now, if you're in a situation where, like most people are, where they have trouble really trading, they have a strategy but they have trouble trading. Now that's something different. And I started doing coaching pretty recently, and I really like it. I would say I love it. I have some really motivated trader I help. And if you guys want to get more information on that, you can always check out desiretotrade.com/free session. So desiretotrade.com/free session. And you'll be able to schedule a free call with me. So it's a free coaching session I do. I do it as powerful as I can with traders to really help them with their problem. And then we'll see if we can work together in the future. So that's something we could do. If you're in a place where it's easy for you to trade, but it's harder for you to make profit, then you really need something more. And that's what I can provide. I really want to make sure I help people I can help. And if you want to get more information about this, again, check out desiretotrade.com/free session, and you'll have everything there to schedule a call with me.